But the other thing that came to mind also was during Occupy Wall Street in 2011, there was an app that was created by an activist, and I assume it just didn't take off at the time, but someone had designed an app where on your phone you could scan the barcode of any item at a shop and it would tell you the hierarchy of what companies owned it, so that you could then start voting with your wallet. And funnily enough, actually I saw an article just 3 weeks ago, I think a new version has come out, and so with things like that, people really do want to vote with their wallet, and I think that using the market forces, that can actually help us move in.
I totally agree. Like I say, we have to do everything, right? We have to use our power as voters. We have to use our power as so-called consumers. We have to use our power as workers. That's very important, right? There are calls for a climate strike of adults going on strike in September the 20th. I'd urge any listeners who are convinced by the kinds of things we're saying here to take part in that. That's a new, really innovative idea. That's a great way to stand in solidarity with Greta Thunberg and the heroic school climate strikers who are begging for their lives. You know, they're begging for the right to have a future at all. And we adults absolutely owe them that.
And where can they get information on that?
Oh, that's all over the web now. September the 20th, it's called the Earth Strike. The Youth Strike for Climate are supporting it. The most important power of all, though, I want to claim, is the power that was shown so clearly by Extinction Rebellion in April of this year. That is what has been transformative above anything else in this country and to some extent the world this year, and what I'm desperately and earnestly hoping is going to move forward as we move into our new phase of rebellion this October. In April this year, thousands upon thousands of us did non-violent civil disobedience for 2 weeks in London, and we held symbolic public spaces for much of that period, and 1,100 of us were arrested. And it transformed forever the conversation around ecology and around climate in this country, as people were forced to contemplate what we were talking about, what we were putting our bodies on the line to make a point about, as we finally got some proper access to the media. And I think a lot of people went through this process of initially being kind of annoyed, inconvenienced, etc., to sort of talking about it and thinking about it and reflecting, and then maybe grudgingly or whatever, thinking, well, acknowledging, well, maybe they've got a point, and well, you've got to admire that they really do stand up for their principles. And by the end of it, transformation of public understanding of the issue, transformation of people's views on the issue. Opinion polls very, very clear. 2/3 of British people after the April Rebellion saying there is a climate emergency. The environment shooting up the people's priorities, such that it went above immigration, above the economy.
Really?
Absolutely extraordinary.
Wow.
Who would have thought that was even possible a year ago? And now in the latest poll, 85% of people in this country saying they're concerned about the climate issue. It's a real concern of theirs, way, way more than used to be concerned about it. So I want to make the claim that mass, non-violent, direct action, targeted breaking of the law when the law is an ass, when the law and government are sending us to destruction, sending our children to their death, sending us all into collapse, that is the most powerful thing of all that we can do at this moment in history. And we're following in the footsteps, of course, of people like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, the suffragettes. Our task is even harder than theirs, because we are trying to change the entire system, a system that is addicted to fossil fuels, including in agriculture, but all across the economy. We've got to change that system together. We've got to change it quickly. But people, I think, are starting to get to the point where they're willing to do that. And what I'm earnestly hoping is that more and more people will join us on the streets of London in October and bring that process to a kind of completion, and then we can win the Citizens' Assembly that we need in order to decide how to make those changes.
And this is happening in cities all over the world?
This is happening in cities all over the world, especially in Europe. There'll be a big one in Berlin. There'll be a big one in Paris. There'll be the biggest one of all in London. There'll be stuff going on in other parts of Britain as well, and anyone who really can't get to London, you can do stuff where you are, but anyone who has the capacity to come to London in October, that is the single most important thing that you can do now to stand up for ecology and climate. It's been proven by what we did in April that it works. So our rebellion begins on October the 7th, and I would urge anyone listening who's convinced by what we're saying here to come and join us for that.